So things in Germany are basically going the same way that things over here are going. As you can see, it's been widely reported that knife crime in Germany surges. Foreigners are, of course, heavily overrepresented in the figures. The AfD are now currently the most popular party in Germany because of this, because people are like, well, hang on a second. Actually, I wasn't up for Merkel just opening the borders. I'm actually not just up for bringing in millions of foreigners who, frankly, don't care about our country at all and seem to think of this as a way of taking advantage of us. This is actually a problem. And you can imagine, like, I love this headline, right? Not because of what it contains, but the way it's phrased. Record number of gang rape suspects in Germany in 2024, with over half being foreign nationals. That doesn't mean the other half are ethnic Germans, right? That just means they have German citizenship. So anyway, let's carry on. And of course, the average German taxpayer is paying for this. Germany spent 17 billion in housing support in 2024. So that's with half of it going to foreigners. So that's going to be analogous to the amount of money we're spending. Because remember, we're spending at least $1 billion a month on benefits for migrants, for foreigners. So it's just crazy, right? Absolutely crazy how we're being so taken advantage of. And so the Germans have begun deporting. You know what? Actually, these people shouldn't be here, and they should just go. This is from March, and the first quarter of the year, deportations went up by 28%. So they got 6,000 deportations done. Now, that's a drop in the bucket, really. You know, it's only, as I say, the annual figure could be 24,000. Okay, great. Drop in the bucket, but at least it's something. But the thing is, Germany, like Britain, is hamstrung by a bunch of overbearing liberal regulations about human rights for rapists and murderers and people who are just sponges who don't belong in the country. And so the Germans have decided to be like, oh, well, why don't we just not give the legal support to human rights asylum seekers? So we can just not assign them lawyers automatically, so we can just get rid of them. Like, they're not here legally, and they're not Germans. Why don't we just send them back to where they came from? So that's a good idea, Chancellor Merz. He's going to abolish the rule that automatically assigns a lawyer to asylum seekers awaiting deportation, even if they lost their final appeal. Right. So, I mean, why would he need a lawyer if he's lost his final appeal, would be the first question. But secondly, it just goes to show you that all of this was just dust in the air, right? These goddamn, like, really, again, really overbearing human rights laws where it's like, oh, well, we've got to make sure everything is done in accordance with a certain set of very abstract liberal principles that you may or may not sign up to. And if not, then something bad has happened. But of course, nothing bad has happened. In fact, the bad thing happens because of the adherence to these principles. If you're one of these people, the bad thing is happening to you because of the liberalism. Because it literally doesn't distinguish between people based on character. It is incapable, blind to seeing when someone is good and when someone is bad, because it can only render people as a universal human type. And I'm sorry, but actually we live in a contingent material world, and the universal human type is a fiction. So actually, a bunch of really, really bad people who have done utterly terrible things have been allowed into the country, and the legal system finds itself on their side because of its inability to distinguish between character. And so this is just something that the Germans just go, okay, you know what? This is ruining us. The absolute untold amount of misery that this is creating is just something we're just going to have to get rid of, right? We're just going to have to get rid of it. Because if we continue like this, we're going to lose to the AfD. And it's the CDU in charge of that. And so, unsurprisingly, they're like, senior MP from the Christian Democrats said, we want the rate of deportations to increase, but many deportations fail due to people going into hiding or due to various legal and practical obstacles. Well, why did you put the legal obstacles in the first place? Like, why did Merkel, who's a Christian Democrat, let these people in the first place? It's just like the Conservatives here. The Conservatives on Twitter are currently talking a tough game. Oh yeah, deport every single illegal. And it's like, you let them in. you are the ones for the last 14 years who are in government. All of this happened under your watch. And they're like, oh yeah, no, we will definitely deport all illegals. It's like, you know that the human rights legislation, I'm just going to use that as a blanket term to cover everything that the illegals are using to get into this country and the laws that they're hiding behind, you knew that was all in place. And so you went through the charade of the Rwanda plan, or smashing the boat, stopping the boats, smashing the gangs, all these charades that you knew weren't going to work because the laws in place just simply wouldn't permit it. And because you didn't want to look bad, frankly, in the eyes of the Europeans, right? And now the Europeans are like, yeah, we're just going to ignore them. We're just going to suspend them for however long it takes. Deportations must be possible in practice as well as on paper, and the abolition of mandatory legal counsel is one of several building blocks for Merz's government to change course on migration. Good thinking. I wonder if something like that could happen here. Oh yeah, it turns out it can, right? And like with all of these things, there's such moral weakness and cowardice in Britain, and through all of our politicians, and they always have been, right? David Blunkett, of all people, has come out and been like, yeah, we need a radical approach to get a grip on the crisis. It's like, wasn't it your government that brought all of this in? Like, all of the Tony Blair nonsense that keeps them in the country, I'm reasonably sure David Blunkett is going to have been part of the key part of all of this. Sorry, Lord Blunkett now. He says, look, we should suspend the European Convention on Human Rights in order to deport thousands of rejected asylum seekers housed in their hotels. Why do we need it at all? Like, I'm sure we can make up our own human rights laws if we want that actually serve us and don't allow foreign grifters to take advantage of us and our children. Why would we do this, right? And notice that he does this. They should follow the examples of countries such as Germany. It's like, do we really, have we ever actually looked to Germany as a moral leader? I mean, when was the last time we actually looked to the Germans as moral leaders? No offense to my German viewers, but like, aren't we capable of our own moral leadership? We used to be. We used to be the ones who actually determined right from wrong ourselves. We actually didn't need to go, well, it's good enough for the Germans. If the Germans can do it, no, I don't care what the Germans are doing. The Germans have made enough of their own mistakes throughout history. I just don't see why we would use them as the model of anything. And yet here we are, where Blunkett's like, yeah, well, I mean, if the Germans, I mean, means we can get away with it. It's like, listen, right? All they were going to do is whine at you, right? All they were going to do, if you'd done this 6 months ago, a year ago, however long ago, this was like, tut, tut, tut. Well, that's not in line with Regulation C, paragraph 27B. Who cares? Who cares about these fucking regulations? Who cares about these fucking things that we put in practice that really are just part of the continuous sort of dead hand of the treaty that is laying on top of our civilization and squeezing the life out of it. Scruton was right about treaties. They are not good. They are often something that just literally, it can't change with the times. And so we found ourselves hand and foot bound to these things, even though it does us no good and just, in fact, does us harm, right? These things are things that we should just be like, no, at best, we will consider them advisory, right? We will say, if it is relevant, we will consider it. But ultimately, the sovereign decision lies with us. Again, this was the point of Brexit, and we will be the ones who make that choice. And so even now, the fact that even the people who brought this order into being are like, look, you've just got to just knock it off. Whatever we did was basically wrong, and we should just ignore it. It's like, okay, great. Then we will ignore it. Because, I mean, you're well aware that there are something like 180,000 illegals who are in the country, which again, drop in the bucket. The problem is legal migration. But even then, there are currently more than 50,000 of them who have appealed against their rejected asylum claims, double the number of a year ago, with many being put up at taxpayers' expense in hotels and other accommodation. Why? Just take away asylum entirely. We don't have to have, again, the UN Convention on Asylum, the Refugee Convention from like 1948 or whatever, was written in a different era, right? Again, the dead hand of the treaty, not changing to fit the times. Actually, if we want to extend refugee status to someone, like I said in another video, the Ukrainians are a great example of this, then we can, and if we don't want to, then we don't have to. Frankly, claiming asylum in Britain, I don't think is a right, and I don't think should be a right. I think it should be a generosity that we extend to people if we so choose, and if we choose not to, then they don't come. It's that simple. We don't have to pay for them to live in hotels at our expense, and we can just chuck them out, frankly. I've seen this particular narrative going around on Twitter from, like, shit libs. Signing a returns deal with the Taliban might be a challenge. It's like, the Taliban are actually not, like, as deranged as you think, They actually offered to take them back. They said, we will take your deportees to face courts. As in, they will be given a legal trial in Afghanistan. Now, God only knows what that means. But the point is, they're prepared to take them. Like, it's actually, they're not just here forever. They're not trapped in our country. We can just send them home. And in fact, many of them, remember, holiday back in the country of origin they left from. Because, remember, they're not refugees. They're grifters. We can just send them back. And it's our rules that prevent us from doing that. We are the ones who created a series of rules, and I'm sure in the best of intentions, that are preventing us from actually fixing these problems. And in the meantime, it's getting thousands of people raped, murdered, and mugged and whatnot, right? We are permitting terrible things to happen for an abstract set of rules that just don't fit the time and place that we're in. We can just repeal them, as the Germans are showing us, as the Labour Party's own lords are saying, look, guys, I think we're just going to have to knock this BS on the head.